You know, throughout our lives, we all collect these little bits of wisdom, things we wish we'd known way earlier. So today we're going to boil it all down to 6 really powerful rules. These are things you can start using like right now to save yourself years of bumping into walls. Okay, let's get into it.
No, seriously, just pause and think about that for a second. What if you could get all that life wisdom without having to go through all the pain and mistakes first? Because that's what this is all about. These aren't just, nice quotes for a coffee mug. This is a real framework for building a better, more intentional life. And you can start today.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why these lessons are so critical. Then we'll dive into your physical world, then your inner world, and finally, we'll wrap it up by looking at your day-to-day life.
So, just to be clear, we're not just dishing out some feel-good advice here. Think of these as actual operational rules for your life. If you stick with them, you can seriously sidestep some of the most common traps people fall into and start consciously building a life that actually feels good.
Okay, let's kick things off with the tangible stuff. The things you can actually see and feel. We're talking about your body and the space you live in.
All right, rule number 1. And listen, this one is completely non-negotiable. Health is everything. I mean, it is so easy to take for granted, especially when you're young and feel invincible, right? But it's the absolute foundation for everything else you want to do in life. It's like the operating system. You don't even notice it's there until it crashes.
Yeah, we've all heard this saying a million times, right? Health is wealth. But how many of us actually live like we believe it? It's wild how many people will absolutely destroy their health chasing after money. But it's a terrible, terrible trade. Because let's be honest, without your health, all that wealth becomes pretty much meaningless.
Okay, let's do a quick thought experiment. Which would you choose? $100 million, but you're stuck in bed for the rest of your life, or you're perfectly healthy, but you just have an average income? I mean, the choice is pretty obvious, isn't it? You'd burn through every single one of those millions trying to buy back your health. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about what's really valuable.
All right, on to rule number 2. Now, this one kind of flips a popular idea on its head. We're always told that self-control is about having this iron will, right? But let's face it, pure discipline is exhausting. There's a much, much smarter way to go about it. Design an environment where you barely even need self-control in the first place.
So how do you actually do that? Well, it's a pretty simple 4-step strategy. Let's say you want to stop eating so much ice cream. Simple, just don't have it in your house. By doing that, you've added a big obstacle. Now you actually have to get up and go to the store. On the flip side, want to drink more water? Keep a full water bottle on your desk right in front of you. You've just removed all the friction.
And that's the whole secret right there. It all comes down to this. Make your good habits easy and your bad habits hard. You're basically stacking the deck in your own favor. You're engineering your surroundings to do the heavy lifting for you. And when you control your habits, well, you ultimately control the entire direction of your life.
Okay, so we've covered the physical world around you. Now let's shift gears and look inward at the psychological stuff. We're going to talk about being true to who you are and giving your brain the rest it's probably screaming for.
Rule number 3. This is one so many of us learn the hard way, right? It's so tempting to just change yourself a little bit to fit in, to say what you think people want to hear. And hey, it kind of works for a little while. The problem is you end up surrounded by people who like the mask you're wearing, not the actual person underneath. Being your authentic self is the only way to find your real tribe.
Okay, check this out. 72%. Just a random number on a screen, right? But this number, it tells a fascinating and kind of scary story about human nature.
So here's what that's about. Back in the 1950s, there were these famous studies called the Asch conformity experiments, and they found that a whopping 72% of people would knowingly give an obviously wrong answer to a simple question just because everyone else in the room was giving that wrong answer. It just goes to show you the insane amount of pressure there is to conform, even when we know better.
Moving on to rule number 4. After a tough workout, you need to let your muscles recover. But we totally forget that the same exact thing applies to our minds. Intense thinking, whether it's coding, studying, or just deep problem solving, is just as draining as physical work. But for some reason, with our brains, the advice is always just to power through it.
And this is where we get into a really important idea, the difference between fake rest and true rest. We think we're chilling out when we're scrolling through TikTok or binging a show, but that's fake rest. Your brain is still getting slammed with information. True rest is when you let your brain actually process things, not just consume more. We're talking about taking a walk without your phone, hopping in the shower, or even just doing some mindless chores.
Okay, let's bring this all home now. In our final section, we're going to tie all these ideas together into a practical game plan for your everyday work and life. Get ready for rule number 5, because this one is a total game changer for productivity. Stop managing your time and start managing your energy. Look, we all have those times of day when we're sharp and focused, and other times when we feel like a zombie, right? The secret is to line up your most important, difficult tasks with when you're naturally at your peak.
I mean, just look at the difference here. You can get more done in 2 hours of high-energy focused work than you can in 4 hours of just painfully slogging through it when you're drained. It proves it's not about how many hours you clock in, it's about the quality of those hours.
And that brings us to our final rule, number 6. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. We're always thinking about what makes a great life. Is it the fancy vacations, the big promotions? No. When you really get down to it, a great life is just a bunch of good days strung together.
Think about it. So many of us fall into this trap, right? We suffer through 50 weeks of a miserable grind just for that glorious 2-week vacation. The math on that is just insane. The real goal, the real win, is to build an average day that you actually look forward to find little bits of joy and contentment in your normal, everyday routine.
Because that's really the heart of it all. A great life is just a string of good days. So if you want a great life, your focus shouldn't be on some far-off goal. It should be on making today a good day. That's how you build something amazing.
So, I want to leave you with this question. Forget about the huge 5-year plans for just a second. What's one small thing, just one, that you can do today to make your average day just a tiny bit better? Because that right there, that's where everything begins.